In the city building war game that is called Rise of Kingdoms, there are two different ways to play. One is mobile, on your phone, iPhone, Android, whatever device you are playing on, iPad, etc. And then there is a computer version. And as of late, in the last year or so, it has become very evident that the computer version is just a more effective way to play the game, and that is because of keybinds. You can see on my screen, I've got keybinds 1 through 5, all the way on the right side. I can use these keybinds to interact with all of my marches separately. So while there are some guides on what keybinds are, I'm going to go over specifically what I use so that you may either choose to replicate it or adjust that for yourself. And then not just what I use, but how I use it. So I will give you field examples of when I'm pressing my keybinds, when I am looking out for different marches, and how I operate on the computer. So hopefully you guys can find some guidance in this kind of video, because I feel like this is one of the biggest terms that Rise of Kingdoms is kind of like starting to use, which is called microing your march. I want to teach you guys how I am microing my marches using these keybinds. So let's hop into it. One of the most common misconceptions is that this is impossible to learn, it's really, really complicated, and I'm here to tell you it's actually not. It's fairly simple. In fact, there are only 5 keybinds that I use in Rise of Kingdoms, period. It's total march select, so individual keybinds, that which you see on the right side of my screen. So I've got my Huo, my Boudica, Guan, Zuge, and Gorgo. So obviously, I suppose that that's more than one, but it's one type of keybind. It's for all my individual marches. We've got my return key, which the default for most of you should be R on your keyboard. And I think that is one thing that you're going to use quite often. The next is the drag and multi-select. And so this is very practical in the field. You can basically drag whichever marches you see on your screen now, and you can select them, but maybe not all of them. So I just can pick out my Gorgo from the crowd if I don't want to go ahead and press my Gorgo keybind. Next up, we actually have the select all function, which in my case is S. We'll go over these keybinds again when I show you my settings exactly. And then we've got the select all on screen, which say my Gorgo was retreating. So I'm fighting this level 25 barb, which is actually a player. My Gorgo is getting targeted. I pull back my Gorgo, right? So I press 1, I press R, I multi-select, I continue to fight here while my Gorgo is retreating back to my city. And then eventually, now it's going to take a little while, excuse me, but it will actually go home, and I'm going to do a little awkward, positioning here, but I press S and select all. Well, if I select all and target this barb again, this Gorgo is going to come back. But if I either drag select or I select on screen by pressing Shift S, you can see that now my Gorgo is not being selected. This is really helpful when you're in dot mode and you can't drag, you can't press the Alt and basically select everything on screen, but the Gorgo's off screen, and so you can do this. If I select S, the Gorgo comes back. We don't want that. We want to send the Gorgo home and move the rest of the marches, right? So that's some of the practicality, and that's literally all I use for open field. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you my keybinds. You're going to go in here and go to the controls, I believe. None of this mouse stuff really works. Yeah, you could make your cursor size about the size of Kingdom Come, but you don't really want to do that. I promise you, you generally want to have it a little bit small. You can do the default mouse, but I generally like the raw cursor. As far as your hotkeys go, this is where the guide itself is completely up to you. This is something that you're going to have to play around with to get comfortable with. I personally have been playing MMOs my entire life. I was a big World of Warcraft player. I PvP'd, I PvE'd. It was one of the most daunting games I've ever played when I first started, but now it's like riding a bike, as I said. And honestly, I could go back to the game and I could probably still know all my keybinds, all 60 of them from back in the day. So again, none of this stuff that you see at the very top is really going to matter. The only one that you're going to maybe use is this city keybind. You can press spacebar and basically go back to your city. So I can return, press space, go into my city, heal my hospital. Not super relevant, but sometimes if you're swarming a rally or a flag, you got to heal the hospital. That does come in handy. And then also getting into the actual select all troops, this is where I said these are two that I use often. I have mine keybound to S because I have my fingers on the WASD keys on my keyboard. Now, you don't have to do S. You can do whatever you want. You could do Q, E, R, space, B, J. It doesn't matter. Whatever keybind works for you, whatever you are comfortable with, select that. Now, because they are so similar as selecting all troops and selecting all troops on screen, I prefer the shift keybind of that same version. So I have S for all troops on, I have S for all troops and then shift S for all troops on screen. Now, as far as my troops, this is pretty self-explanatory. Troop 1, Troop 2, Troop 3, Troop 4, Troop 5, right? Like, this is just 1 through 7. And now, if you look down at your keyboard, which I imagine a lot of you are, you're saying, how are you pressing 1 through 7 on your keyboard? Well, the fun thing is I'm a tryhard, okay? So I have something called a Razer Naga mouse. This has 12 buttons on the side and 2 buttons on the top. So I can actually press all of my marches. Let's just call out here. So if you look, this is awkward, more awkward to record than I imagined. So you can see that I actually press my 2, 1, 3. You see how it's selecting my marches on my mouse? This is actually how I'm able to micro so quickly and so accurately. So I will have the link to this mouse in the description. I'm not partnered, I'm not affiliated. It's just something that I've used for my entire life playing MMOs, and you can find cheaper versions of this mouse online. There are a bunch of these kind of models. Just find whatever works for you. So going back into the settings here, customization, no, controls, hotkeys, we continue to scroll down. And again, this is where you're going to figure this out. If you don't have the Naga mouse or whatever mouse you're using, then you could change this to maybe QWERTY. I know a lot of people are League of Legends players, MOBA, Dota players, etc. You can get away with whatever you want. Again, mess around with it and find what is comfortable. I never use any of ththese formations. I know a lot of people do. I know that you can set up certain troops to be part of other keybinds. Like I could have my Guan and my Liu Che, like both my infantry, select that to a formation. The truth is that your marches are constantly rotating while in a ball, and I really have not found any use for this in Rise of Kingdoms. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Again, I've ignored all this. Select formation, I've ignored all this, and then this is where it gets pretty important, right? And this is the select all troops. This is the drag and hold, the alt key. So like I said, I was doing that drag earlier. So I'm holding down alt and I'm dragging this. You can get cheeky with this and right, like I can move this way. And basically in the field, this gives you a lot of freedom of movement and freedom of choice if you're not able to select multiple things at once, right? So I can get that, right? Just a quick like few movements can really help you control which march is going where. And now, having said all this, it's kind of daunting, right? Like, how do I use this in the open field? Well, I'm actually going to go ahead and walk through a clip. I apologize if it's a little pixelated and it's a little laggy. It's a stream. It's a recording of my stream, so it's a little odd. But we're going to go ahead and walk through it, and I'll show you what I'm pressing and what I'm using, and also what I don't like about the new dot mode is, unfortunately, like this is great for me. I can see where my marches are, which ones are overextending, but the new dot mode hides my marches, and so it kind of takes away from the skillful aspect of, I'm not sure, like I can see that a cavalry march is, and now an infantry march is first up to be targeted. They're going to click on that march, but I don't know if that's my Gorgo or if that's my Guan, right? And so it turns out it was my Guan. Anyway, that a little rant. I've already submitted a ticket to Lilith to see if they can change these little archer, infantry, cav icons to the commander icons themselves. Hopefully that gets fixed in a new update and it's not like super cluttery. But as somebody who does micro my marches, right, like it's something that I need. Anyway, I've kind of gone on a tangent. We're going to go ahead and hop into this clip here, and I'm just going to show you what I'm using, what I'm looking out for, and hopefully you can replicate it. Right, so here we have my most recent Kingsland. This is my stream, and again, I kind of apologize if the quality's a little off. It is a recording of a recording, so naturally that lowers the quality by a little bit, but we're just going to walk through what's going through my head while I'm fighting in this KVK, and also what I did wrong, some mistakes that I could have improved, and honestly some that I couldn't have because I don't know which march is which. So like I said, hopefully that gets fixed soon, but we're going to go ahead and play this about minute-long clip, and I'll outline 2 mistakes that I really made and kind of what's going through my head. So let's go ahead and give this a watch. So naturally, trying to click on things, it's KVK, there's a cloud my way, because for some reason there are still clouds in dot mode. So far, no atrocious mistakes have been committed. I'm trying to click on this inventory march, I can't click on it. But now, so what is going through my head right now? Actually, let's back up about 5 seconds. And as I click on this inventory march, what am I thinking? Okay, so boom, we pause here. What are the two most likely marches right now to get targeted? And that would be my inventory march here on the left side and this cav march here on the right side. Those are the ones that are swinging around the target. And so if I were to know, unfortunately I don't, but to know which marches these were, I would be prepared to pull them back while my other marches engage. So we're going to play, and you're actually going to see what happens. So we go ahead, I'm getting a little overzealous, I retarget the cab march, there's a little bit of lag that goes on, but that's okay. The infantry march dies, and now I'm retargeting, I'm feeling a little aggressive, and this is where I make the first mistake. So you're going to see I target this cab march, which looks innocent on paper, and then all these marches load into my screen. Naturally, I'm sure that this has happened to a lot of you guys, where did all those marches come from? But I continue to swing right now, and you can see these two marches in this bottom left, my archer march, and I think it's like another cav or infantry march, are getting way out of position and about to be surrounded by 20 other marches. So you're going to go ahead and see, boom, my archer march swings out, my infantry march is still kind of protected, but this archer march right now is almost as good as dead. So if I were thinking right now in my head, I got to pull this march back as fast as possible. And you can see I actually start spam clicking back here. I'm trying to retreat my marches, but unfortunately I pressed S, which is my select all, and then I pressed the retreat button, or not the retreat button, but at least the right click button. If I were to know which march this was, I would not have pressed S. I just would have pressed the keybind for the Zhuge Liang and gotten that back while my other marches continue to kill this cav march here. And it didn't get punished too badly, but that's just kind of what's going through my head. So I re-engage, I realize that I'm safe, I'm pushing, things are coming in and out, they're lagging a little bit, and it's okay. Right now, everything seems good, just kind of right-clicking what I can, getting a little aggressive, but that's okay. And now, what am I thinking right now? Okay, so I'm not going to say anything, but I'm just going to let this play and then rewind. So watch what happens to my marches here right now. Okay, so what's going through your mind when you're seeing this happen? All my marches are swinging left. That's bad. That's awful. So we're going to go ahead and rewind again. And right now, what I should be thinking, as soon as I see this, is this cav march, I don't know where it's going. Okay, so if I knew which this was, or which march this was, whether this is my Hua, whether this was my Nevsky, I should be spam clicking right now, because this is an outlier. I should be spam clicking right now to get this march as far right as possible while my other marches finish this march off. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. Now my screen is glowing red. I'm getting targeted, okay? And my archer march, because I was so late on the reaction, because I'm so intense on killing this dang cav march, which has now probably caused me more damage than I'm causing it, right? Now I'm trying to right click. You can see that I realize that I retreat all my marches and we're running away. Hopefully we're running away. Okay, and now here we are. Now, I didn't get super punished. I believe my Huo and my Guan lost about 20% HP, but like I said, this whole video is talking about min-maxing and playing the field as well as you possibly can. That was a mistake that I did make on the field. Again, I wasn't super punished for it, and obviously there's objective fighting where you just push and sad facing doesn't matter, but in the case where you're just trying to fight for field superiority and there's not really an objective being pushed, then you really want to take advantage of this kind of awareness and situational awareness, so you know where you are on the field at all times. So, this fighting goes on back and forth, but again, being able to press that S key, and again, so now a situation where I would use Shift S, my city, you can probably see right in the top right, it's not very far away. I could probably send my Zhuge Liang home. Maybe it goes home, I zoom in a little bit, I use Shift S, so it runs home, and then I can re-pull it out, maybe, in like 2 minutes. So again, that was just a quick overview of kind of what I look for on the open field and how I would use my keybinds. hopefully you learned something. And we're gonna go hop back in game here shortly. All right, so we are back in game. We are farming. I've set up for the night. This is the last video. It is late, but I hope you guys did learn something seriously, because I think that this is one of the parts of Rise of Kingdoms that people really don't appreciate too much. Obviously, it's a pay-to-win game, guys. Like, you could be a gigantic whale and you're going to beat a free-to-play in the field almost every time. It doesn't matter if you're playing skillfully or not. But if you are a lower spender, or even if you're a whale trying to min-max and learn all this stuff, right? Like, this is just good things to know. And this is one of those ways where you can close the skill gap and honestly just the win gap between you and like a big pay-to-win whale. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you learned something, please give this video a thumbs up. I actually am curious, what keybinds do you guys use if you are computer players? I've used the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the WASD. Give me some like crazy keybinds. Like, are there any like FGH players out there? Like, I have no idea. It'd be fun to figure that out. So anyway, guys, you have a good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, and I will see you guys again in the next one. Peace.